So the Israeli government has been having some troubles, and you guys probably have already heard about this because basically Netanyahu wasn't getting enough votes to actually be able to form a government. And so there was this like crazy stalemate where the government was basically locked because the election was so close between Netanyahu and his opponent Benny Gantz. Basically Netanyahu is like far right Likud party, Benny Gantz is basically center right. So it kind of differs on how much they want to bomb Gaza, pretty much. So what's going on here now is it's having more struggles. It says Israeli parliament fails to pass budget, setting up snap election. It says Israel will face its fourth snap election in 2 years after its parliament missed a Tuesday deadline to pass a budget. The snap election, which will take place in March, marks the latest development in a 2-year-long saga in Israel that has already driven voters to the polls 3 times as Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu finds himself embroiled in an ongoing corruption trial. So, remember that there's a lot of corruption stuff going on with Netanyahu. One of those corruption things was he was basically passing mergers for corporations in exchange for taking down negative articles about him. There was also, I think, like mismanaging funds that his wife is doing, and I guess his son is also a douchebag. So it's kind of all around the family, essentially. And I believe Israeli police had recommended charges against Benjamin Netanyahu, so he is kind of, he's kind of embroiled in this corruption scandal, essentially. It says, despite the shadow of the corruption allegations, Netanyahu has been able to remain in power and ultimately formed a unity government with now Defense Minister Benny Gantz, leader of the centrist Blue and White Party earlier this year. The current breakdown was fueled by a dispute between Netanyahu and Gantz over the national budget, which is critical to the power-sharing agreement between them that would have ushered Gantz into the role of Prime Minister in November 2021. Netanyahu will remain in office at least until a new government is formed after the March election. He's led Israel since 2009 and served a previous stint as Prime Minister from 96 to 99. It also goes to note his relationship with Trump. Do remember that Trump really gave Netanyahu everything he ever wanted. I mean, it has to be the most pro-Israel president we've ever seen, for sure. It may, probably even Republican. I mean, the Bushes weren't huge fans of Israel, so, this is crazy. They gave him the Golan Heights. They made Jerusalem the capital of Israel. They basically gave them everything they possibly could have wanted and more. It's actually insane, unbelievable how much damage Trump has done on the Palestine-Israel relations. He's pretty much destroyed it. Not that it was ever in like a good position, but completely eviscerated it. It's unbelievable. Previous presidents, H.W. Bush, George W. Bush, these are not people who are anywhere near this level. It says, however, the Prime Minister will have to face off against a new right-wing competitor, Gideon Sa'ar, who defected from Netanyahu's Likud party and will also have to contend with anger over his handling of the rapidly spreading coronavirus. He will also be running during the new Biden administration, which is not anticipated to be as automatically supportive as the Trump White House, and could undercut one of his key arguments for his re-election bid. Both Netanyahu and Gantz expressed confidence that they would perform well in the March contest. It says Netanyahu said he would win based on his leadership and achievements and said Likud is the only party big enough to form a coalition without left-wing groups. Meanwhile, Gantz tweeted that Netanyahu is taking us to an election for the sole purpose of not going to jail. So it's kind of similar to Trump's situation, I guess. Trump and Netanyahu are very similar guys in terms of their tendencies, lying their asses off, being kind of fascistic in a lot of ways, stuff of that nature. They're definitely very similar, but I guess you can see that he's trying to hold on to this power, just like Trump is trying to hold on because, like Trump, Netanyahu is facing corruption charges that will put him in prison, potentially. So that's kind of what's going on here. But they've been nonstop having election after election. I'm talking about 3 elections in 2 years. Okay, that's a lot. And now they're going to be having another one. So it's going to be the 4th one in 2 years. That's insane. A lot of crazy stuff going on over in Israel. They cannot seem to, figure out what they're going to do. So it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen.